So I entitled my today's presentation as Engaging with Indian Shipping Journal. Since 1961, because the first issue which is available in our library is 1961. And at the outset, I would like to make a clarification. What I have tried to do here is, because this journal is quite old, in our library also termites have gala time with this journal. You can see in some of the slides which I have clicked. So my aim is, as we are very much promoting maritime history, the content which this journal covers should go across the audience. So I have not looked at any descriptive part of the journal. Plus, most of the information covers information on merchant navy, and I am myself not a part of merchant navy, but as an academician, how I look at this journal, that is my basic outlook when I'm presenting. Now, tomorrow happens to be World Maritime Day, and if I'm right, it would be the 45th World Maritime Day since the celebration has been um, organized under the aegis of UN. Today is 24th, so we are close to that event also. And since I am from history fraternity, I'm going to the next slide. Yeah. So what I have also tried to look at is key. When we are looking at this journal, we also should look at how the address part is equally important. So it was having its office at Scindia House, Ballard Estate, Bombay. And we know that INSA really came out with this journal. So INSA's office at that time was at Cuff Parade. And this journal was costing 10 rupees as a single copy, and its annual subscription was rupees 100. As a history person, what I have tried here is to look at the cover pages. These are some of the initial cover pages, how this magazine looked like. Some of the slides I have mentioned, it was varied in pages. Sometimes it was 42 pages, sometimes it was 39 pages. So it varied according to the funds and how much is the information. So this particular slide I am interested because it really shows the historicity, how our ancient slip ships were focused in Ajanta paintings and other artifacts. So when we look at, say, from 1961 to 1919, these journals, the cover page equally is very interesting. So if students from maritime history have joined here, they can really look at the cover part of this journal equally. Many times the ads also were visible in the cover pages, which consequent slides will be covering. This is the basically how this Indian National Steamships Owners Association's anchor symbol was there, and the 1961 issue which is available from our library. So it does cover a lot of information related to book reviews and all. Now, some of the content part, I would go through it. Acha, one more thing, what I have done is I have not taken up very chronologically. Sometimes the 82 years slides will be earlier. So it is a very random way I have put up. We know that International Labour Organization completed its 50 years of service in 1969, and how labor as a concept is very, very important as far as the merchant navy is concerned, because a lot of manpower is required as handling all the cargoes and the cruise. So a big article related to this is visible. So if we are looking at this journal, 3, 4, 5 pages information we do get on these international years. Like 1989 issue, when the World Maritime Day was celebrated in September, the IMO, the first 30 years was the theme. So IMO, IMO, International Maritime Organization, also came out with its yearly theme. So it had a lot of articles in Indian Shipping Journal related to IMO, the first 30 years. And plus 1989 was Nhava Sheva was being developed as a very high-tech port. So one can see, page number 15 to 21, continuous information on Nhava Sheva port. And in fact, if one sees all the 12 volumes of 1989, because it was a monthly journal. Sometimes it was bi-monthly, also merged 2 months together. So a lot of information on Nhava Sheva port is visible in the 1989 year. Further, this is about one of the advertisements of a shipping company, Jayanti Shipping Advertising. So on the cover page itself, this advertisement is seen. We can see the INSA logo here, and interestingly, it shows ship plus um, uh, Shankh is very important as far as sea is concerned. So when personally, when I am teaching maritime history, how to attract students to maritime history, this is also a big challenge for me. So through these cover pages, it really becomes interesting. This is another cover page highlighting about the shipping company Jayanti, which this is another ship showing the cargo handling of the cover page. This is the Scindia Steam Company Limited explanation. 50 glorious years. In fact, the 1969 volume of Indian shipping was completely dedicated to Scindia Shipping Steamship Navigation. And further slides, I will show how this company's 50th year was really celebrated. This is another Dempo shipping which has its head office in Goa. So it took 7 seas to make our world. The advertisement really shows in the cover page of 1970s. And in fact, if I am correct, there is a college also in Goa starting with this name, Dempo College. So perhaps owned by this same shipping company. How the content page looked at, as I said, 1969 marked the golden jubilee year of the Scindia Shipping Company. So these many articles written by so many of the scholars one can see. Here I am mentioning one MA Master had written this article, how Scindia built up the Indian Merchant Navy. A lot of people were associated themselves with the Scindia House. So many people, Mr. Mudaliar, who was later on given a big award, consequent slides I will be showing. But these content, when we look at, see page number 3 to 61. So this March volume was bulkiest volume commemorating the event of 50 years. So this also, because in history, we require sources to write anything. And I don't think so this journal is still digitalized. So that is also a reason I thought of presenting this journal before the audience today. So the content page itself shows a very interesting varied topics on this celebrations. The same content page is visible, and who were the president of this running this journal, vice president, honorary treasurer. And as I said, sometimes the subscription was 10 rupees or sometimes it is 9 rupees. Since it is 1969 volume, it was 9 rupees. This is the cover page further of the Golden Jubilee celebration. As I said, the 1969 year was fully dedicated to it. And I personally felt that while looking at this journal, Scindia Shipping Company contributed financially to this journal in a big way. As Madam had earlier said, there is a talk also on 2nd of October on Gandhi's birthday. So this shipping journal also in 1969, we know that centenary year celebrations were celebrated across the country and across the world because so many countries issued special stamps on Gandhi. So here is an advertisement which this journal also came up, how Gandhi was an inspiration. And we know that how in 1919, when the first Indian made ship Loyalty was launched, Gandhi equally was very much happy, and Swadeshi movement equally coincided with that. Equally is a thing. In fact, when Madam was talking about this organization, Maritime Museum, it was formed in 2019. So I just felt that 1919 was our first Indian made ship going abroad, and 2019 this museum society Mumbai Maritime Museum Society is formed. So 100 years, is it planned in that way? That one can answer later on. As I said, some of the letters were also written equally to the editors. This is one letter written by one person who is talking about some kind of discrepancy which the magazine carried. And interestingly, it covers about Nepal. We know that Nepal is basically a landlocked country, but most of the um, uh, material exported through Indian or Bangladesh ports of Nepal. So in that way, Nepal shipping comes into prominence. So reading letters also make us sensitize how world issues equally were given importance in this magazine. An earlier issue, 1963, had pages on news in brief column. So it did cover about the Jayanti Shipping Company, which was owned by Dr. Jayanti Dharmateja, which was a bilingual bi-monthly issue, February, March, as one can see. It also covered about Bombay Dock Labor Board. In fact, if somebody is working on labor studies or labor movement, this journal is extremely useful, I suppose. Masgaon Dock, we know that later on it became a state-owned uh, entity. Advertisements of coastal cargo movement on the west coast of India are visible between Kandla, Bombay, Cochin, and Calicut. So west coast important ports. In fact, while I was preparing these slides, it was a big kind of learning exercise for me, because we in maritime history paper end our syllabus at 19th century. So after independence, what kind of maritime research is happening in India, we don't teach. So in future, this journal can also help me out in framing a kind of a new syllabus. It also mentions about Paradip Port, which was being developed as an all-weather port in 1963. Plus, minor ports of Maharashtra sometimes were equally given coverage, like Thana, Bassein. And interestingly, it also covers Gujarat Maritime Board, Maharashtra Maritime Board's contribution, how these boards are functioning. And comparatively, the Gujarat Maritime Board was then very active, as one can see. Further, there was a 3-day seminar on human relations in Merchant Navy, which was organized in Bombay in February 1970. And the discussions which took place is a very interesting one, as we know that shipping as an industry and seafaring as a profession being quite unlike any other in the context of new situation and enlightened appreciation of human relations on board. Seafarers have to work and spend their leisure time within the close confines of the ship. So how human relationship is very much important. And then the recommendations were given that we should be introducing a special refresher course at the Lal Bahadur Shastri Nautical and Engineering College as a syllabus on human relations and personal management. So if commerce people are in the audience by chance, because I am from history field, I am not very good at personal management or techniques and all. But when I read this, I thought, wow, this journal is equally important for our commerce pursuing research scholars also. This part I had darkened deliberately, because many times chronicle of shipping events, say from July to December, a kind of 6-monthly chronicle of 10 pages one can see. So if one is in a hurry, you will get full detail about the 6-monthly analysis of what kind of export and import is happening and which company is having major share and whatnot. So again, from commercial point of view, this information is very, very essential. So consequently, in so many preceding months also, we see this kind of information giving news on the chronicle of events. In the 1970, when we look at this journal, it talks about the world shipping industry was going through a boom. Economics of sea transportation is spoken about. Traffic and problems in Madras port article is there. Traffic projection of Visakhapatnam port is there. ILO's maritime session, which happened in November 1970, is given coverage. So this journal equally covers whatever is happening at world level. So this is very interesting. If somebody is just working on world information covered in Indian Shipping Journal? Well, I mean, now the MPhil thesis is closed down, but a whole MPhil thesis could have gone in writing for this. Problems connected with containerization, which is a very important aspect of trade. Full article is covered. India's import stature of 69-70 is written. Working of Bombay port during 69 to 70 is highlighted. And as I said in the earlier slide, chronicle of shipping events which happened between June to September 1970 is covered in December 1970. So this and how the chronicle of shipping events looked like. So like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so one can really go through it, what is happening, who is being given, what happened in Bangladesh. Or coincidentally, when I was going through this journal, lot of information on Yugoslavia. Now it's no more a country, but how Yugoslavia was an important maritime nation, one can see. So just to give a glance to the audience, the chronicle of shipping events, बहुत सारे 70, 71, 72 shipping के issues में हमको मिल जाते हैं. Now, this is an article written by Vice Admiral S.N. Kohli on complementary role of the two navies, key role of merchant navy in April 1972, and he quotes how Stephen Luce wrote at the turn of 19th century, above all, a naval officer must be convinced that shipping is the other arm of sea power, its right arm. So as a maritime teacher, when I read this line, I said how much it is true. And I equally sensitize my students that we are looking always at land. Why don't we look at sea, especially we are a peninsula country. India's prosperity depends on how well the oceans are made to serve the people of this country, both economically and militarily. Also discusses on protection that Navy can offer to our shipping. So how Indian Navy is equally important, playing a role for merchant Navy is highlighted by this article. So a lot of admirals, vice admirals have contributed articles in this journal. I could see Dr. S.N. Sanklecha's many articles in this journal related to export of Indian shipping and prospects, economics of sea transport, ships insurance in India, because insurance thing in shipping industry is very important. A.P. Desai's many articles are visible, and he used to write articles with use of many tables. So again, statistics and table, if one is looking out of this time, these articles are very much there. And we know that Sanklecha ji was secretary to Great Eastern Shipping Company. So this is equally important that people who are working with many of the shipping companies were contributed to articles in this journal. 4th November 1963 covered the launch of TSS Yerevan ship by Mazgaon Dock. It was a cargo cum passenger ship which used to carry this is actually 200 passengers, not 20 passengers, and 200 tons of cargo capacity. So any new launch from Mazgaon Dock equally was covered in this journal. US Rao's article, The Economic Role of Dredgers. We know that dredgers are very important, especially when silting kind of thing takes place. So IS means Indian Shipping. I have used shortcut in future slides. So in April 68, there he wrote a big article, and this is very important because I also teach a paper of US presidents to my students where I talk about Panama Canal's construction. And this beautifully covers the US advancement in dredging technology in 1903 led to the construction of Panama Canal, and which led to saving of big travel route. We know that especially for US from West US to the East US or East US to West US. And the secret of America's success in Panama was primarily due to her mastery over the science and art of dredging. So how dredging is important might be students who study in a lot of maritime colleges might be studying in this detail, but we as history students don't go much into these aspects, but they are equally important. And then mention about 1775 inspiring slogan Scions, which means let us try, was highlighted. So this is related, something related to America, US. 1977 was a 28-page journal which covered on Haldia docks, which was equally being developed on our east coast. So this information equally helps if students are working on the eastern coastline. In 1982, IS was 34 pages, so we can see the fluctuating number of pages as I had earlier only told, and it had columns like miscellany of notable events. Here, one of the faculty from our university law department then, she had written a lot of articles on SOLAS, which is safety of life at sea. SOLAS convention she had covered, and also she highlighted about how peace in oceans and merchant shipping laws is important. So law related articles are also being given n number of coverage in this paper. This next line is very important. Nowadays, I see union leaders of any field, they are very more of kind of a fighting spirit than of an academic level. When I was reading about Leo Barnas, who was General Secretary of National Union of Seafarers in India, his articles in Indian Shipping Journal are seen, like labor legislation and industrial relations in shipping and labor supply situation in India. So he had written a lot of articles, and some of his articles really talk historically also. He also discusses how the protectionist law of Britain led in 19th century of India ceasing to be a maritime nation. He discusses further about the development of maritime law in India, formation of National Maritime Board in 1957, which led to an important bipartite machinery towards building up of a structural industrial relations in shipping. So this was very much very inspiring. Personally, I was very inspiring. People from the union field are also kind of making an academic contribution in this journal. So as a teacher, I was very much attracted, because in teaching field now we are observing due to API score what kind of paper writing is happening. And here are union leaders who were writing for a cause. So one can get really inspired from them. 1982 also carried about Daulat Singh Jadeja. He wrote on our shipbuilding needs. Mr. Jadeja D had traveled to many premier maritime countries, and visiting these countries gave him an extra edge on how to really look at shipping industry. And he writes further that shipping is one of the most important means of transportation. It is important particularly for the national economy, which needs no emphasis as the bulk of world trade moves by means of sea transportation. So he highlights further that how nearly 70 to 75% of our trade is in bulk commodities, but unfortunately we do not have sufficient number of bulk vessels to carry even a fifth of this trade. I mean, he highlighted that most of our trade abroad is carried by foreign owned ship, and Indian owned ships were lacking at that time. So the lacunas are equally highlighted. Then another article by SN Sen on Calcutta port problems and prospects can be seen. So again, we see that East Coast is equally given importance in this journal. Yes, in 1971, we know that Indo-Pakistan war and how the armed forces played a very important role. So this is equally visible in the shipping journal of that time. So role played by our ships in emergencies. I mean, every year we know that 5th of April is celebrated as Indian Maritime Day. And this journal shows a lot of things. So, and many of the organizations still are celebrating 5th April in a very big way. So can we have some of these topics again rewind and give to college going students or researchers what role were played by ships in emergencies, so that they look at these material and go further in research. Yes, this is one of the, we know that Sumati Morarji was director in charge of Scindia Steam Shipping Company Navigation. So in this journal, many places her photographs is there. So those of you who are studying from gender angle, because very few females are visible as far as contributors equally are concerned in this journal. So Sumati Morarji is definitely given a space. So this photograph speaks in itself. Many times He was also responsible for giving away the prizes on the Maritime Day, 5th of April. So, n number of photographs of her are there. As I said in my kind of a cursory write-up also, I said there were n number of shipping companies. Some of them were dealing with coastal shipping and some of them were dealing at the international level. So Dempo Steamship Company, as I gave the logo cover page earlier, it was given space, and Chaugule Steamship Company. We know that it played a very important role as far as the Konkan service is concerned, and later on it did also face a lot of losses. So loss part is also equally given coverage, which I have not covered in detail, but I'm just giving a broad idea how shipping companies are launched and soon they realize their services are not bringing them profits. This is again a cover page highlighting about another shipping company, the Shipping Corporation of India Limited. In the 1970s, it also showed a ship on its cover page. Further, again, a cover page is being shown, which is equally very important. A hand is shown carrying a ship. Yes, this is again a cover page. We give a helping hand to shippers. Again, an ad of Shipping Corporation of India Limited. Now, since I have used this journal as an archival thing from the library source, I would like to know from the audience how these shipping companies are performing today, because the present level thing I as a historian don't know and would like to learn from the audience. But I was just interested in how they were propagating themselves through the cover page. This is another advertisement of the Shipping Corporation of India Limited, which showed a map, because map, geography and chronology are the two eyes of history we always teach our students. So this map showing perhaps the services of the company in the eastern and the western ports of this company. So maps are equally very, very important when we see the advertisements of this company. This is an article related to transplanting Ruder and Gear, unusual repair works at Musgao Dock. So again, the technical aspect, if students are looking or researchers are looking from technical aspect, this journal comes to our rescue in some way. As I said, this journal is being a very good appetite for the termites. In fact, I am trying my best. Some of the volumes of these journals are binded according to years, and some of the volumes need to be binded. So I have told our new librarian to do the same, and is very enthusiastic and helping me out with this. But till then, at least some kind of ray of hope is there. And this again talks about, this is from the 1988 volume. Again, something it is talking about Singapore and Colombo are the two major ship repair locations. Colombo is important because I teach a paper related to SAARC countries. In 1988, SAARC was being really formed. Of course, today SAARC is not that functional, one can say. This is again a cover page which I had given to madam to really use for the flyer. Again, an advertisement of Southeast Shipping Company Private Limited. Again, an anchor is shown on the flag. Another Southeast Asian Shipping Private Company's cover page ad. And again, an anchor is shown. So when I personally teach my students, I always tell them minute monuments of the shipping things you need to really get imbibe in your basically blood if you really want to go ahead with maritime history. And of course, when this museum will take shape, so anchors would be a part of one gallery, I suppose. As I said, sometimes technical information, how radio stations are important at an international level, and how the radio stations are being used for the shipping trade to go out smoothly. So this is also a technical map, which I personally cannot decipher it, but I had introduced this because if the audience is looking out for more technical know-how at that time, they can use it. We know that Vice Admiral MP Auti formed Maritime History Society MHS. So, and after he retired, he was also associated with Tolani Shipping. And in this journal also, he was a part of director's list. So this journal covered many times his photographs and his name in the list of directors. So I could see Mr. Auti's photograph in many of the issues. And as I said, in 1991 also his name visible in the directors list. Further, this was a cartoon related to how the container handling is being done. And we know that Jagdish Titler was the transport minister during that time when this cartoon was being published. So cartoons are very few, but they are there. In 1989 issue of this Indian Shipping Journal, it mentions how the fleets of many countries were growing, and they have grown drastically. A comparison is made in 1959, the fleets were not carrying big things, but within the gap of 30 years, they were carrying liquefied gas carriers, super tankers, roll-on, roll-off ferries, container ships, and other types in a big way. So the revolution in cargo handling technique also is described. In 1989 was also the 50 years completion of Maritime Union of India. So if somebody is working on unions, so this union is highlighted, which was the Union of Merchant Navy Officers of India, which was founded in December 1939. So as a history person, these dates help me out in a very big way, because in history, for us, dates is very important. 1989 was also 40 years proud performance of Great Eastern Shipping Company, GESCO, which was founded in August 48. And it also mentions about its cadet academy located in the premises of training ship Jawahar at Mumbai. Is it still there? I don't know, because I have just picked up and just prepared the slides. Yes, Indian ships helps in weather forecasting. This is very important. Many times a layman thinks that only meteorological department plays the role of highlighting geographical happenings in the country, but how shipping forecasting and people related to ships and navy play a very important role in forecasting. This is highlighted. And then selected ships from all the shipping companies, Scindia, India Steam, Bharat Lines, Shipping Corporation of India, Mughal Lines, British India Steam Navigation Company, Asiatic Steam Navigation Company, and further. So when we see the list of these companies and the ships they own, that itself is a big history for us. So when I saw this particular article, I said, wow, I mean, next semester when I teach maritime paper, I will tell my students to work on these ships and how much they are active. This is further again highlighting in detail how Jayanti company is holding the name of ships. Okay. See, many times the ships are given godly names, Krishna, Chanakya, Lakshmi, Rama, Gandhi, Jayanti, and vagera vagera. So this is also an interesting part. And I think I have included this slide, but many times ships were given feminine names. So this is a very equal area of study. Why even traditional coolies many times try to give ships feminine names. So a very interesting area of research. As I had earlier highlighted, Srimati Sumati Morarji was very much associated with Scindia Shipping. So many of the photographs are there covering about her role as, yes. This is an article by her. Sumati Morarji also wrote an article, Indian Shipping Since Independence. So how post-independence our shipping industry really helped out. So, and then in the 1970s issue, this is important, as I talked earlier, Ramaswamy Mudaliar, who was born in 1887, was conferred Padma Vibhushan for his long career related to shipping. And the August 72 issue gave a big tribute to Mudaliar, because he was also chairman for long years with India Steamship Company. And in the long career, he also was associated with politics. He was a leader in himself and an administrator. And he retired from active service due to ill health in 1971. So his immeasurable contribution to the development of company is equally being highlighted. One can see. So as historians see, we don't study about these post-independence contributors, which perhaps is again an area which I would be looking at further. MA Master was also in a very big way associated with shipping and his contributions. So a tribute letter was published by Maritime Union writer Randeri on Mr. MA Master in 1970 January issue. Yes, when Varuna Award of 1993 were being conferred, so this bulletin monthly equally covered about this award and how Mr. Vashant Seth's contribution equally highlighted here. Yes, we know that Nhava Sheva was dedicated to the nation by the then Prime Minister Shri Rajiv Gandhi. In 1989, it was dedicated. This slide I couldn't click very properly, but big event was held and how the Nhava Sheva was being highlighted here. This is a write-up on new port of Nhava Sheva by Anna Malhotra. Very few writers, few female writers, as I said. So one can only work on female contribution in Indian Shipping Journal. That can be also looked at. This is again a cover page of Shipping Corporation of India ad, basically again highlighting how our sculptures and ships are closely related. So as a history teacher, I am equally interested in looking at these cover pages. As I highlighted earlier, INSOA had board of directors and Mr. Vice Admiral MP Auti is senior. So we have Navy people equally being board of directors seen in this journal. As I said, use of tables is seen many times. They show about the year ending. This is the list of most of the shipping companies. We can see SR, Great Eastern Shipping, Chaugule Steam Shipping, Surendra Overseas, Scindia Navigation, and then the chart. So if statistical data the audience is looking at, I have given here few only slides, but n number of export-import data of that time is visible. So table ideas equally, how duties of marine administration. Might be course on marine administration students from technical know-how might be studying. So these charts equally help out how the administration is being done at high seas. Container handling, sometimes photograph like this, how big trucks used to have cargo and container handling. So photographs equally, like I am a very non-technical person. So for me, these photographs become very interesting when I read particularly this magazine. As I said, how technical information again, how the radio information or Morse code, lot of information on Morse code is highlighted in this journal. So again, technical aspect, I'm coming to the end part of my presentation. Ratnakar Shipping Company was again very active. So this is one ad of Ratnakar Shipping Company serving the nation's vital needs in international trade. So while presenting this PPT, what was my intention? Basically, shipping companies' information leads to cross-cultural understanding. Like I am a non-technical person, but when I went through certain volumes, some technical know-how at least I could catch. Articles of Indian shipping help in covering many interventions. Personality interventions one can do, Sumati Murarji or Mr. Auti's contribution, or interventions related to ports, interventions related to different kinds of ads. So finally, this particular quote was given in one of the issues, Thomas Huxley's quote, nature had no designs or intentions. All that live exist only because they have adapted themselves to the hard times that nature had laid down. And I feel that once we are related to maritime history or shipping, I think we all get acquainted towards hard times or facing the hard times.